Investigators are starting to close in on the David investigation, and they found evidence that connects him to Celeste and even more evidence that suggests that her death was sadistic. There are also new characters unlocked because David's close friend Mio was there the entire time and possibly assisted in some of these crimes. So let's get into it. You guys remember how the homeowner of the mansion that David was staying in decided to enter into the investigation and hire their own private investigator? Now, I don't know if they hired Steve Fisher, but he has been on this case from the beginning and he knows a lot about the evidence and who's guilty. He's saying right now that David hasn't been arrested yet because there are multiple players involved. And we're going to react to some interview clips of him. Here's one where he talks about how Celeste wasn't just staying maybe at this mansion, but also between different residences, that David had more than one rental property.
You know if Celeste was ever at that property?
So, what we recovered, we don't have any of her at that property. We have pictures of her and that were taken by David, we assume, because it's not on a camera phone, but these photos are on a regular camera at different locations. And it really makes me think that it's likely she had another place she was staying. I can tell you that there was a lot of time spent towards downtown LA. And I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd, 2025.
Something that really scared me was that Steve shared that he thought initially this was like an overdose gone wrong, that they didn't want to expose the relationship or show that there was an overdose here, so they disposed of the body and made some wrong choices, which still sounds evil, but he says it's way worse than this, that they have been like working together to keep this going, some kind of like humiliation thing.
I thought this was going to be a tragic overdose, which it very well still could be, and they made a bad decision because they didn't want to expose a potential relationship and put her in this Tesla, and then maybe he thought he could get somebody to get rid of that car, and they were just like, no, I'm not doing it, and just got left there. But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind.
A few things that will blow your mind. What did he uncover that he believes is sadistic? Sadistic means deriving pleasure from inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. So what was their plan with her body? David is such a creep. Seeing him with these knives and things in his stream just make me feel really sick to my stomach about what they put her body through. There's a strong possibility that the reason nobody has been arrested is because there are multiple people involved in this and the police are building a case against all of them. Finally, I feel like we're getting somewhere. Big thanks to the landlord for hiring the private investigator, and I agree. Waiting for someone to be arrested, that poor child deserves justice. Now that Steve is on the job, he claims that he has obtained surveillance footage showing the Tesla being driven shortly before it was abandoned. The individual behind the wheel reportedly does not match earlier descriptions. The footage dated July 29th could be a pivotal date in mapping the car movements and identifying who last handled it before it was impounded. And Steve claims that his evidence includes digital data from the Tesla app, phone records, timestamps, and is now under review. Quote, if it helps establish a timeline or shows who Celeste was last seen with, prosecutors and defense attorneys alike will rely on it. Steve did say that there was scary and sadistic evidence found at the property, and it suggests that there was a possible cover-up attempt, though he admitted that there was no proof that Celeste was actually harmed within the home. Not to get too graphic, but I did see a couple rumors. Like this one, Celeste reportedly lived with David at 2 rental properties about a mile apart in the Hollywood Hills. That kind of goes with what Steve was saying, but Steve said it was closer to downtown, which is not near Hollywood Hills. There are also rumors that she was unalived and her body dismembered at one of these properties. He continued that there are rumors that Celeste's remains were chopped up and stored in a freezer for weeks or months until David went on to tour. So, I mean, the last photo, Steve says, of Celeste was taken back in January, which was quite some time. I mean, the family members say they were in touch with her up until July, but maybe that was someone pretending to be Celeste. Steve actually posted on Twitter, "Let's speculate that the Tesla was moved the last time and left in the parking spot it was impounded from right before tour started in San Francisco. Who actually moved the Tesla the final time? You don't get answers unless you ask questions. Was it Neo?" We're going to talk about Neo in a moment because it seems like he was David's right-hand man. He definitely knew something about this Celeste case.
I definitely know who moved that Tesla on that late July before they went on tour. I can't say who the person, and I don't mean I can't say for, but I don't know who exactly was in the house because it's just a report, but there's video, but you can't make a person out. But somebody was in the house, and being that there's only one key, it's like, okay, who had access at that time? So is it the same person that moved the Tesla? Was another last part of the plan about to go in motion as far as getting rid of her body? I don't know.
Let's talk about who Neo is. Now, Neo is David's good friend. He would actually describe himself as David's personal assistant. Some would say it's like David's relationship on the side, like a boyfriend, but we'll get into that. There are so many photos of these two together hanging out, lounging. We also know that Neo knew who Celeste was because we have pictures of them together in video calls. This is Neo's Instagram, where he currently unfollowed David. He's trying to disconnect himself from the case, but a little too late. Neo hasn't just unfollowed David, but also scrubbed all photos of him from his social media. Well, that seems a little suspicious. This person speculates that if David had been the one to move the Tesla, I'm sure that he would have been arrested by now. But that's not the case, and in my opinion, based on everything we know and what has been revealed in these past couple of days, it really seems like someone else moved the car. Right now, with no arrest, the case is still open. Investigators need evidence. They need to determine what happened to Celeste and how she died. This person speculates after looking at David's relationship with Neo that he could potentially be bisexual because of his relationship and there are like comments towards each other, which maybe they just have a little bit of a bromance. But in these comments, you can see Neo writes, "I'm never letting go. You are always beautiful, David." He writes, "Healed." Which, what are you healed from? Everyone seems unhealed here. There's an anime video where it seems like David is actually depicting Neo within it. Neo even commented senpai, which means crush in like anime terms. And this happened on like August 5th. Like not long ago. The song in that video, it's an Asian male, an African American who looks a lot like David, and a woman. Then there's Neo's comment, senpai. Is David trying to say something? Maybe they're overanalyzing, but I don't know. It feels a little too coincidental, especially considering the timing of everything happening. It was released on August 5th, which, remember, this all really started to unfold at the end of July, but we'll go through a timeline. Based on the photo that David posted on his Instagram, Neo was with him at his home on July 30th. According to Steve's interview with News Nation, the video he obtained was recorded on July 29th, so it looks like that's the same day the Tesla was last moved, and it looks like David and Neo were with each other. Neo has responded to this situation, but his response made everything worse. I mean, yeah, eventually I'm gonna say something, but I kind of hate forcing myself into solitude because people on the internet assume the worst in people and will legit make up anything out of nothing. So eventually I'll say some when I'm ready to. Love all the real people that have been kind to me and don't make false assumptions. So he says people on the internet will make up legit anything out of nothing. Nothing? A dead child in his bro's trunk? I mean, that's nothing. That's sociopathic. This person said that he was at David's house on April 18th, June 1st, 6th, July 8th, July 27th, and I'm sure there were way more that have been deleted. Main character syndrome, the lot of them, that is what it takes to dump the body of a girl you supposedly loved into a trunk and not even have the decency to pay for her funeral. Now let's go through a detailed timeline. March 8th, lease on David's property that Celeste was allegedly staying at was terminated. Unsure if Celeste moved in with him onto Viro Drive or something sinister happened before then. On July 20th, the police were called to his property on Viro Drive. It's Vireo for loud music. On July 27th and 28th, these boys were partying, but on July 29th, David's Tesla was moved for the last time, caught on surveillance by an individual wearing identifiable clothing, who immediately went on tour afterwards. This is suspected to be Neo. On the 30th, David has his show in San Francisco, so I guess on the 29th, they would have left in the tour bus, and now they're in San Francisco. What is so creepy is that on his first show, he wore this Hello Kitty sweatshirt that had Celestial written on it, very close to Celeste's name, but it says Divine Celestial, which is like interesting wording to put onto a sweatshirt. Again, kind of feeds into the sadistic, like, sacrifice kind of thing. Like, she sacrificed herself for this album or for his career or whatever, like, sick reasons they would do something like this. Here's a clip of them on July 31st hanging out at a show together. So Neo was there the entire time. Let's hear what Steve has to say about this timing and when the Tesla was parked and the tour bus took off.
Do you have the precise date of when that car, the one with the Tesla, with Celeste body inside, when it was left there? Do you know the specific date of when it was left in Hollywood Hills?
I believe so. I believe it. Late July, very late July.
Somebody quoted him, "What I can tell you is that right when the Tesla was moved there, the tour bus was waiting to leave. From the time the Tesla was left there, immediately the tour bus had left. That is very suspicious." I agree.
The time the Tesla was left there, he literally immediately started the tour. There was a tour bus that was leased, and I'll tell you that Tesla was moved and literally a bus departed for tour.
Okay.
Let's get back to our timeline. On August 1st, he's in Arizona, and then on August 2nd, he's in California. He moves on to more and more shows. Neo stopped being seen after August 8th. I don't know what happened with him there, but then we see him August 10th back in LA at a birthday party. He probably just got off of the road. On August 27th, it looks like maybe Neo and David were seen partying with a bunch of influencers while his car was being marked for potential abandonment. From the 29th to the 30th, it looks like Maximilian, this like photographer, is taking photos of Tara Yummy's debut show. Looks like everyone else was seen there. Seems like David had a close relationship with Tara Yummy, which is really spooky to me. Throughout this timeline, Neo was consistently hanging out with David before his tour and almost partying with him daily. Neo was present at David's tour dates in California, but not in other states. He was back in LA by August 10th. This means that he cannot be completely ruled out as the person who moved the car initially before David went on tour or moved the car last, anytime before the 27th of August when David's car was marked. You might be wondering, where's David in all this? And nobody knows but his attorney, Blair Burke.
Do you have any indication about where David is right now?
I don't. I have no idea. And it's kind of bizarre because his group has stayed so silent, what's left of his group, I guess. And I'm not even sure the conversations that the owner did have with his management in breaking that lease. I'm not even 100% sure his management knows at this time where he's at. I think his attorney might be the only one, and his parents.
So David technically is still out there and a free man. So I hope that there are some arrests with an S. You heard that, right? Try to make sure the S was very clear because I want multiple arrested behind bars. Lock them up. But what do you guys think of this update? It gives me a little bit more hope. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Also, go watch my Let's Get Into It podcast. I forgot to change the background, so great way to promote it. I will see you guys there. It's on Wednesday. I will link it below. Bye, guys.